Molecular diagnostics has gone through a major revolution in the last 10 years perhaps, and is continually changing. We are having more and more options in terms of what diseases we can diagnose and what organisms we can detect. Brings its own problems with it, of course, but in general, the options available for a clinician to diagnose microorganisms using molecular diagnostics is far greater than it's ever been before. The challenges for the next years will certainly be providing an access to molecular diagnostics to a much broader public. We need to get these kind of things into lower middle income countries and poorer settings where the infrastructure is perhaps less advanced. And diagnostic microbiology in such settings is fraught with a lot of difficulties that I think, in fact, molecular diagnostics could well solve in many aspects. And of course, talking about that, we're getting towards kind of point of care testing in which the test kits themselves are becoming simpler. Isothermal amplification methods are making it more available for lower resource places. And I would imagine that the actual kits themselves will become much smaller and robust, which I think in terms of sustainability is an extremely important step. So I think these large cartridge type kits are probably not really something that will or should carry on in the future. So I think in terms of expanding diagnostics to other areas, I would certainly imagine that these syndromic point of care tests will play a major role, and not only in diagnosing microorganisms, but also perhaps in detecting resistance mechanisms that could play a role in the treatment options. A further development, I think, in molecular diagnostics will be the expansion of spectroscopy, MALDI, into far more complex materials, not just isolated pure organisms, but perhaps into complex clinical specimens. I think because of the advances in bioinformatics and computing power, this has become a real option, and possibly also with typing. So I would imagine that not just nucleic acid amplification, but also protein spectroscopy will probably play a bigger role in the future. And a third aspect of molecular diagnostics is perhaps the use of big data with sequencing. And sequencing, of course, has become very much cheaper. It will need to become a lot more cheaper to be used in a broader sense, but I'm sure that will happen. And especially interesting is perhaps looking at long reads and real-time sequencing results to diagnose rarer pathogens, but also to be able to diagnose resistant mechanisms and other such things, which I think requires fairly large computing power, but also can be done in the cloud, which again, I think provides perhaps access to countries where the resources are perhaps too limited for classic cultural microbiology. So I think there are exciting times ahead. I think the ECCMID in 2023 in Copenhagen will address a number of these issues, and I'm really excited to be there in 2023, and I hope we'll see you there.